I'm now live. I do have two pens that I recently got going. This one I just got in the mail. And here is another one that I've had for a long time and put a nib in. And did that just come out of this thing? Yes. See? See what's happening? This is a very wet writer. We'll see if I can fix that. So 2 pens and 4 opinions. Well, I just showed you the 2 pens. What are my opinions about them? I knew I was going to have more than 2 opinions because both of the pens have nibs that did not originally come with these pens. I didn't realize this one until just now. I have a phone call. Just a minute. Hello. I am alive. Well, I didn't. I hadn't called you back until I am alive. Oh, I didn't realize I was supposed to call you yesterday. Well, he did get back, and we went out to dinner. And by the time of the dinner ended, he decided he wanted to come. He wanted to do it. So, but I didn't. Then I thought, well, I'll call you today to let you know. Okay. Well, yeah, I hope you weren't waiting for my call until 2:30. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. So, yes, we will love to come. And okay, 5 o'clock is fine. And then we'll figure out something that we will bring for to add to the community pot, whatever that is. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll probably pick up something today that's, unless Matt has some other plans that might be sort of ready-made, at a deli or something. So, and we're Americans. We will not starve, regardless of. No one ever starves at a dinner party given by anyone in our. Okay, well, I'll look forward to seeing you then. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we'll look forward to seeing you. Great. Bye. Bye. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Yes, clearly I have a life that involves other people. So where was I? Two pens. So this one was the one I got yesterday in the mail, and I did not realize until just a few minutes ago that this Waterman pen does not have a Waterman nib. But in the conservation of matter and things like that, this pen has a Waterman nib that I put in it. So there you go. There's one Waterman pen and one Waterman nib. They just don't happen to be connected. And there's one Pencraft pen and one warranted nib. But they don't, if I were to switch them, they might be slightly more accurate, except of course the nibs don't fit. So I would have a broken Waterman nib and a broken warranted nib if I tried to cram them into each other. So all in all, I guess the 4 opinions One opinion would be, oh, it's a Waterman with the wrong nib. It's therefore beneath contempt. That's one opinion. And the other opinion about this pen is, wow, it's just really a great nib, great pen and a great nib. And I want that pen and I'm going to be happy owning it. Just as Vicky Carvajal von M is. Now, I'd like to find out what the hell kind of name is this. Vicky Carvajal von M means. It almost seems like I don't understand. I don't understand any part of this name. Vicky sounds like a first name. Carvajal sounds like a last name. What Von M sounds like a name from some sort of Mrs. Von M, like a pseudonym or a name that isn't complete in some sort of mystery crime story. So I don't know if this was Von M. Can I look that up? Vicky Carvajal Von M. I imagine there might be some. Let's just look it up. Let's find out. Vicky, Vicky, Carvajal Von M. Period. I'm not doing the period. Let's see. Find Vicky Carvajal. Okay. Try a different word. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, who knows? Von M. Von M. I don't get it. Anyway, it has a really nice warranted nib that's nice and springy. It almost feels like it's a Waterman. Could have been a Waterman, but it's a warranted nib. So, rather than dissing this pen because it has the wrong nib and a weird name on it, I'm saying, you know, Vicky is a complex person, this Vicky. And what is she all about? I don't know, but it's a neat little pen. So, yay, I'm happy having her on board. This one is a pen that I probably was going to put a dip nib into, and I might still do that to make a Franken pen. Would this one fit? No, this is way too big. But I had this Waterman nib. This was shoved in a Waterman pen that it didn't belong in, and it was clearly wrong. And so I put it in here, and it seems very tight, but as you can see, it's very wet. And the wetness is caused by the shape of the feed. It's one of these feeds that doesn't have any extra fins. It's just this, it's completely full of ink, and it has a big sack in it. Big long sack. It's one of these kind of feeds. And these kind of feeds tend to be very wet and drop ink down because they don't have any extra little bits to hold the ink in place. You want ink right up here at the front, of course, but you don't want it to be completely just hanging there waiting to drop off. And it's a recipe for disaster. So how would you fix this pen so it wouldn't do that? Well, here's how I might do it. a way to maybe reduce some of that, I think this nib is a little bit loose. I think the nib that was originally in this pen could have been a little bit bigger, thicker, and wider, maybe. So let's just see if I have one that works better than this one. This one I liked because it was a nice fine nib, but let me see if I have a nib that I will like better than this one. What is this? This is a bigger nib. Is this a Waterman? Waterman Ideal number 17. It's a 17. It's much, much tighter. No, it still does that. You don't want that. So we'll take that one out, find a different one. When building Frankenpens, as I'm doing here, this is like just a standard Waterman though. This is number 2. This is a later Waterman. See, this is just dripping. So, plan B from outer space. Let's see if this works. Okay, so that one dripped really easily. Now I could find a different feed, maybe. Maybe that's a way to do it. Let me try something else though. Let me empty this sack. Often when a pen starts losing dripping ink, it often means to refill the pen because there's a lot of air back here and the air might expand and cause the pen to be very wet. Look at this. The sack the sack fits through the thing. The sack that could have been on this pen could have been much fatter. But so anyway, I'm just going to put a shorter sack on this just to see, just as an experiment, just to see if less ink, and I'm not gluing it, as you can see, I'm just setting it on it, just letting it be held by the pressure or the elasticity of the rubber. Okay, let's put this in here. Let's put the original feed back in, and the nib I originally put in it was this one. I just want to see. I'm just trying it out. My cat is pining for, yeah, see this nib. We try the bigger one. I know this, I'm changing my The other thing is, I'm just noticing too, the nib has the feed has a slight downward. You can't see it, of course. It's slightly down, so that too might cause an issue. Okay, somewhere here. Let me heat that up and bend that up just to make it tight. In general, when you have a nib or a pen that is wet or flows more, or is stingy with ink, flows less, wet, flows dry, the issue is the feed and the nib. Something is not in balance. Now, sometimes you might want a wet feed. Other times you want a drier thing. Did I make this okay? It seems straighter. Now, if I bend this up too far, then it's gonna it'll make the nib splay, which you don't want either. You want the end of the nib. See, there's a little gap right there. Is there a gap on this one? There's not a gap on this one. Again, the two nibs are not going to be the same. Okay, this nib is a little smaller. That's a little too big. Go back to the original one that I put in there, which was this one. It's tight, and it's tight there. Okay, so let's see how this works. Fill it up with ink. This sack is shorter, and I tweaked the feed. So I'm holding it this way, and let's find out what happens. I don't see drips happening. It's very, very wet. You can see how wet that is there. It's like it's just waiting to gush out. And I think that would happen regardless of the nib I would put in it. I think that's just sort of a flaw of this nib, this feed system. A feed that has teeth, like this one, all of these little comey, teethy bits that are sticking out, those will hold ink in place. Or the spoon feed on a Waterman spoon feed will have 2 or 4, sometimes 6 spoons in them that will keep the ink from becoming one big mass of ink that's waiting to fall on the page. For me, because I write usually and draw with the pen at sort of a low angle rather than a high angle like this, I don't have a problem with the ink, even if it was a really wet feed. I don't have a problem with the ink falling down, like dropping out of the pen like it was doing here. But if I'm drawing and I'm sort of holding the pen like this and I'm thinking about what I want to draw or thinking about the word I want to write, and I'm not holding it like this, I'm holding it like this, and I'm scratching my head and I'm putting it back down here like this, it might dribble out a blob of ink. So let's go back to my 2 opinions and 4 opinions and whatever it is I was trying to say in this video title. So both of these pens are Franken pens. Both of them have, quote, the wrong nib in them. And one of them has, in addition to the wrong nib, a really short and smaller sack. But the short and smaller sack will make it less likely to blob out big gobs of ink like that. Putting a nib that maybe is a little less flexible or a little fatter or a little bigger might help this one, but I think the problem with this pen might be this feed. But I don't know, maybe there's other issues too. I have to answer this. Now, I don't understand why this works. Okay, yes. Good. Works well. If it had brought a bigger nib or a fatter nib, if it had a firmer, thicker nib, it might fit tighter. This is kind of loose in here, but I don't think it's overly loose. But there is this big, there's a gallon of ink ready to pour out. So if I do that, that's going to happen. And we don't really want that, but it happens with many pens, regardless, whether we want it to happen or not. Even a Waterman 12 full of ink will do that if you shake it a little bit. There's nothing that can be done about it. It's part of what fountain pens do, is have ink right there at all times. Lovely nib. This is a Waterman Accountant nib, which I have a love for because they're so fine and they're just slightly flexible because that's just how Waterman made them. But it's really neat to have a pen be so precise, a line be so precise and exact. Makes me want to balance my checkbook. When was the last time I balanced my checkbook? 40 years ago. And that was a mistake. If there was, most of the time, banks don't make mistakes. And I'm assuming that my bank doesn't make mistakes. This one, again, so what are my opinions? The 4 opinions are, both of the pens are wrong. Well, the 4 opinions are, I'll list them. 1, the pen is wrong. The Waterman is wrong. Is wrong. The second opinion is the Pencraft is wrong. The third opinion is, God, this pen writes well. God, this is great. Regardless of its Frankenpenning aspects to it. Yes, it has the wrong nib. Yes, it has a short sack in it. But God, this line it makes is really, really delightful. And lastly, Vicky has really a neat feel to it. Nice and springy. Vicky was the life at the party. She'd always be the first one to dance on the table. Nice and springy and bouncy. Really neat. Vicky Carvajal von M. What are your thoughts? Write your answers below. Bye.